Welcome to Talent Show, the podcast where we put personality front and center in the hiring process. I'm your host, Lauren Glass Mullins, founder of Personality Pool, and around here, we believe people are more than bullet points on a resume. So whether you are hiring for a team or trying to join one, we've got tips, stories, and a whole lot of personality to help you stand out. Let's dive in. Today's guest is one of the most inspirational HR leaders that I have ever had the pleasure of interacting with. Deb Christensen is the Chief People Officer at FACE Amusement. She boasts a wealth of experience as an HR professional with an extensive background in all aspects of HR and mergers and acquisitions. She has played an instrumental role in the growth and success of the company. Throughout her career, Deb has worked for companies of all sizes, starting in marketing at BCBS and transitioning to HR. Deb has held various roles at Starter, Sports Apparel, and Taylor, MacDermid, and U.S. Foods. Deb's expertise in HR and EA has earned her a reputation as a trusted and strategic advisor to leadership teams. Her ability to navigate complex organizational structures and drive meaningful change has resulted in successful outcomes for both the companies she has worked for and the employees she has supported. Alongside her professional accomplishments, Deb holds a BA in Business and Economics with a minor in Psychology from Albertus Magnus College. In her personal life, Deb is passionate about travel, sports, and giving back to her community. Her favorite travel destination is the Grand Cayman Islands, and she is an avid fan of the University of Tennessee football and basketball teams. Deb also spends time attending her children's sporting events and volunteers for organizations such as the Red Cross. Furthermore, she has worked on relief and recovery efforts during the Gatlinburg fire in 2016. Married to her husband with 4 children and 5 grandchildren, Deb is a remarkable asset to the FACE Amusement team, and we're fortunate to have her as a guest today. So let's dive into today's episode with Deb. Deb, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and being so willing to let me interview you. You've seriously become one of my favorite mentors and somebody that I trust so much in this hiring space and beyond. So I'm honored that you would give us this time today.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. And you are one of my favorite people as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I know I told you the first time I met you, I'm never going to let you out of my web now. Like, you have to stay with me and help me through this. So, and you have, and I'm so thankful. So, before we get into the more rigorous hiring takes, I want to hear, because I know that you've seen it all, what you would consider to be your craziest or weirdest hiring experience so far.
So, that's really tough because I've been doing this for such a long time, but it's got to be the naked guy.
The naked guy? Oh my, okay, I'm ready.
So I didn't actually hire this person, but someone else did. So when I worked for this company, it was a very large company, and I was also over emergency response and everything. And so I got a call and said, Deb, you have to come to building 3, floor 2. We have a situation. And I'm like, okay, so what's the code? And they're like, no code. And I'm like, I need to know what the code is so I know what to bring with me. And they're like, just get here. So I go to the building and they say, go over there in that cubicle. And I go to the cubicle and there's one of our IT people sitting at his desk. Now, this is a new hire, stark naked.
Literally naked.
Literally stark naked, no clothes on.
What was the reason?
So I'll get to that. I basically said, and I'm going to call him Joe. I said, hey, Joe, how's it going? And he said, it's going great. And I said, Joe, you do realize that you are sitting at your desk with no clothes on. He goes, but they're right over there folded nice and neat. And so I'm like, okay, do you mind if I take you into the nurse's office and we just talk about this in private? And he's like, yeah, fine. So we get there and I asked him and he said, well, I just started yesterday. And I said, yes. And he said, I came in. And now, again, I'm dating myself here, but this was back in the time when men wore full suits to work, women wore dresses and skirts. And he said, I came in yesterday and my whole outfit was just so wrinkled. And my boss talked to me and said, you cannot come to work looking like that. You have to be more presentable. And so today, the day that I'm talking to him, he went down to the cafeteria, got a cup of coffee and spilled it on him and thought there's no way I'm going to get yelled at for not looking presentable today. So that was his rationale for why he was naked at his desk.
Butt naked.
Butt naked, not one stitch of clothes on, not even his socks. Yeah.
So what did you do for did he keep
Well,
his job?
so basically, I asked if there was someone that I could call, and he said yes, his sister. I called his sister, and she came and got him. And unfortunately, the next day he did call me and said, "I'm so embarrassed with what I did. I'm just not going to come back." And I said, "No, you're welcome to come back. No worries." But he didn't want to, so yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think we can go ahead and safely say that you're gonna win.
Oh, good.
You're gonna have the weirdest story. Like, I never in a million years, when you said naked guy, I was like, oh, this is gonna be, she's like roping us in. And no, literally the naked guy.
Literally the naked guy. So it was either between the naked guy or the crazy lady, and everybody on my team voted for the naked guy.
Okay, well, I love that. I can just imagine you being like your nice professional self, and this man is sitting here stark naked. These IT guys, you just never know.
You're right. Honestly, I had no idea what I was going to see when I went around the corner, so I was taken back. But I had to remember, I'm in HR. You have to deal with this professionally.
Well, that I've already known that you can do anything.
Yeah.
No, I really know it. That's why yeah, Face knows. They're like, if Deb can handle that, she can handle anything. We're never letting her
Yes, and
get
let me
away
say
from
it
us.
was not at FACE.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll clarify. This was not at FACE Amusement. Let that be the clarification. Bucky and I are friends on LinkedIn. He's going to see this and be like, what in the world? So that's amazing. Well, I know that the next part of this I think is very exciting discussion, but I don't know how we top naked guys. So I'm really thankful that you shared that with us. Okay, moving on from the naked guy straight into the hard hitting stuff, which is something that I think about a lot. I think a lot of people in the hiring space think about to some extent, but resumes. Do you think they are going to become obsolete? Do you think they'll disappear? Or do you think that there's always going to be a place for those? And honestly, are they necessary?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things there too. First of all, resumes now with AI, you don't really know if they're true. So I do think at some point resumes are going to be something that we don't even look at anymore. I even know, like with us screening, okay, we'll screen through a resume. We think we've got a good person, but then when you actually talk to them and you see them, I think you get more out of the face to face. And so I really do believe that videos and video resumes are going to be the thing of the future. I think with technology and with the advancements, people don't want to do paper resumes. And if they do, they're going to be AI generated, which you can't put a lot of faith in. I will tell you, we have used the personality pool and screening, and it's so interesting the personalities that come out. And to me, personality is more about what you want in a candidate than that piece of paper. So I think that's the future. I think the resumes, I think face-to-face hiring events, things like that, instead of resumes. People want a quick way to apply. They want an easy way, and they don't want to be filling all this stuff out. So many people don't even have resumes now, or if you
Yeah.
get them, they're not even updated. So I think they're going to go away. I really do.
I agree with that. And it's nice to hear somebody from your perspective talk about this because I remember when we first started Personality Pool, and originally I would say in my pitch, this can be a resume replacement. And a lot of times, hiring teams were like, "Oh no, like we have to have it." And then I would backtrack, "Well, you don't have to, but you could. And if you position the questions correctly, then what's the point?" And that was really, like you said before, ChatGPT that's just one AI tool. There's zillions now, but that it was just kind of getting started. But yeah, I think for a long time, I think back even to creating my own resumes, I'm fluffing it up. I wouldn't say I'm lying per se. I've used that language before and I'm like, well, it wasn't a lie. It was an embellishment. Because you think, oh my gosh, this is my only chance to put my best foot forward, and it's absolutely impossible to take somebody's personality and condense it into one sheet of paper. So, yes, personality pool, of course, like we've loved working with you guys, but even the in person hiring events, I mean, I think that people, and I would love to get your perspective on this. One of our biggest pushbacks when we talk about like video hiring is, or, we don't want to make anybody feel weird because they have to do a video, and I get that. But on the flip, I think it actually gives more of an equal opportunity. But I want to hear that from you. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we just were looking at a candidate yesterday and they came in and they said, "Oh, I have all this experience." And we're like, "Well, it's not on your resume." And she said, "I didn't update my resume." But when I think personality pool actually, because we give the people the questions in advance that we want them to do the video, it allows them to research it and write things down and then do their script, and they can re-record it if they don't like what came out. But you're hiring, people can tell you within the first 3 to 5 minutes if they're going to hire somebody when they're talking with them face to face. So personality pool, I think it actually lets people's personality come out so much more. And I love listening to their responses. And it also does tell me, look, did you take the time to actually think about the question and come through? And we've had some great examples where people will hold up signs for us and they'll show us and they'll write things down. And it's like, wow, look at
In the video
in the
responses?
videos.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
They will do charts for us and hold them up and everything. And some people get into it so much, and it's like, well, hang on a second. We're looking for somebody who understands structure, who understands this. And here they are giving us a chart. I think, diversity and inclusion, I think the personality allows us to look beyond that and just think about what are they presenting right there? How is their personality coming through? And it has nothing to do with what race or sex are you or anything like that. It's really what are you bringing forth to the table? What's coming through? And I love that. It's just, yeah, we've gotten some really interesting things on our videos.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. I'm thinking we're going to have to get some reviews maybe from the people that made it through the process and
Yeah.
did things like that. Because I just think like the TikTok generation and the Instagram, that's all of us now, really, to an extent. Even more so, we've been talking about Gen Z forever, but Gen Alpha's 15 now. So, they're coming in too. And I just think people are so looking for something different, a different way to showcase themselves. Where even when I'm millennial, mid
Hmm.
millennial, like not elder millennial quite, but like right in the middle, and there was not video based things, and I think I probably would have been a bit uncomfortable with it myself. But I think the biggest thing is for talent acquisition professionals to kind of reframe it, like maybe that wouldn't have been what you would have been comfortable with, but so much is changing.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you, we had one candidate who applied for a job, but he wasn't the right fit. But his video was so entertaining and his personality came through that I actually reached out to him and said, "You're not a fit for this job, but I love what you put in your video. And please consider this other job when we finally post it," because I thought he would be a perfect fit for that.
That's
And yeah, and
amazing.
he was so appreciative and said, no one's ever reached out and given me that kind of a no, you're not, but given me the feedback that you gave me. And I don't think I would have been able to give him that feedback just from a resume, but from his video, I was able to.
I love that because we've talked a lot about the candidate experience. Like, what if your company and FACE, which actually I'll get you to like give us a little insight on the culture
Mhm.
of FACE and how you guys do things, because I think it's interesting to see all of these different organizations. You go to their career page, they have these are our core values, and we want to do this and we want to do that. And then the hiring process actually doesn't match that really at all. Candidates get ghosted, and it's not because anybody has a personal vendetta against speaking to them. You just get busy and you get wrapped up in this thing, or if it's just a typical resume, that what feedback can you really provide? And so I think I would love for everybody to just hear a bit about like the culture that you guys are building and the type of people that you're actually looking for to when you are hiring.
Yeah, so I think that's why personality pool fits us really well because we're all about fun. Excuse me. Our core values are in our name, FACE. So our core values are faith, attitude, consistency, and excellence. And so we have a brand standard too, which is fun, friendly, and clean. So what we look for is people who can exhibit those core values. Faith is having faith in one another to do the job that you're supposed to do. Consistency is, again, being consistent with everything that you do. Our guests have a consistent experience. Our team members have a consistent experience. Attitude is having a positive attitude all the time with everything that you do. And then excellence is just giving your personal best. So that comes out in someone's personality. That doesn't come out in a resume. And when you can see that we want everybody to have fun at work. When you can see that, they're having fun and showing us those charts and everything because they want to have fun at work, that's what we want. We want to look for people who are energetic, who have a positive attitude, who can have faith in their team members and want to have fun at work. And like I said, you can't see that on a resume, but you can sure see it in the videos.
I think that's great. And I think that's really what everybody, when we talk about these just video tools, for example, because that's what personality pool is, but there's so many other hiring tools out there too. I think everybody wants those great personality hires that embody exactly what you guys, stand for. But I think a lot of people are like just a little apprehensive about trying new things in that space, even if it would produce those greater hires that they are looking for. And so I think you guys as an organization really like all the way through embody those values, which is amazing and super inspiring. I think a lot of people should like look to FACE and see how you guys do things. And I think a lot of people do actually. And so we're honored to ever, play even a small part in bringing those great people in. But I think, yes, it's just being open to these new ideas makes all the difference in the type of not only employee you bring in, but like just the overall culture. And so I love that story of like reaching out to the guy because that's what candidates want. They want to be seen.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And one of the things I even challenged my team with is wouldn't people that have applied, if we sent them thank you notes for applying, wouldn't they be surprised by that? Because whoever tells you thank you for applying and
Nobody.
I'm sorry you didn't get the job, and that's another thing. We respond to everybody. Everybody who applies, we do say, I'm sorry that it didn't work out this time. However, we're growing. Please look at these other opportunities because we want to make sure that we aren't ghosting candidates either. And that, maybe this time it wasn't the right one or we had filled the position. We want you to know, we want you to get feedback because so many people apply for jobs and they say, I never hear. Well, we don't want that. We want you to hear from us, whether it's good or bad.
I think that's important too. And, candidates I'm trying not to say this in the same way. It's just interesting to see what comes up in all of these interviews. And ultimately, it is that for a long time, the candidates are looked at as, I don't want to say as like insignificant because they're so significant to your operation, but almost disposable in a way when they're not the right ones. And the thing that keeps coming up to me and that I always want to remember just from talking to people like you is that people could choose to apply to work anywhere. And the fact that they chose and to see you guys giving them that respect, I mean, just the dividends that will continue to pay, I think is huge and is where I hope that hiring is going, that we are just kind of rethinking the way things have always been done from the initial like resume part of things all the way down to how you treat the people that maybe just you're not going to hire, but they still put in the effort and that's, they didn't have to.
Yeah, definitely. And if you think about it too, like most people, when they post a job, they post the job description. We don't do that. We post a fun article about what we're about, why we're growing, what makes it so fun to work with us. And we try and make each of our ads a little bit interesting to draw you in. And then if the ad draws you in, then go look at the job description. But we want to be different. We want we want the fun to come out. So we try and make our ads fun and not those standard, here's what we're looking for, here's what your duties are, and here's what the requirements are. If we can catch you with the ad, then you can go look at everything else. But we try and be different. So personality pool also helps us be different.
Well, I'm so glad. But you guys, I mean, that's the reason I stalked you when we first met. I'm like, this company, because you look at so many people's hiring processes and it doesn't take much to stand out. It really doesn't. I mean, you guys have taken it next level and you've put a lot of work into it for years, your whole team, the whole organization. But when you think about, I think everybody wants better candidates. We can't get the right people. We have such high turnover. But it's interesting to see what happens if you start to think, well, maybe it's not about, getting more people in. Maybe we need to go back and change, the ads that we put out, or who says that you just have to put a bulleted job description here just for the sake of doing it, and who says you have to just intake a resume just because. And so I think, yes, just looking at those different tidbits all the way through, which I hope people will hear this and think about that. And like I said, look to you guys to see, like, you don't have to just be a run of the mill. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that we've discussed is that a lot of hiring professionals are scared of new tools that make things a bit more streamlined. And definitely if they hear the word AI, we took it off of our website because we were seeing that was scaring people to death, which, you get into it and you're like, the AI is not, fully doing everything. It's just a piece to help me. But we took it off because it was such a triggering word for people. And so what do you think when it comes to AI and hiring and people being really, really scared that it's going to take their jobs? Do you think, like, how do you feel about that?
So I think there's a couple of things here. I think, like, I'm not worried about AI taking the job because of the volume of hires that we have. It just helps streamline the process. However, I think if the laws stay the same where it says you can't use AI for recruiting, because it will screen them out. And I know, like, the AI that you use is not that screening mechanism. I think that's what scares people is the law. And like, you're going to get sued if you're using AI to screen. Personality Pool doesn't use it to screen. We still do the screening. So again, and it's not that we have such high volume of positions to use it to help streamline who are those that better fit our qualifications and not completely screening people out because of words. And that's not what your product does. That's where I think people are afraid. And if they are afraid of automation, it's coming. I mean, it's coming every single way. We look at how do we make things faster? How do we automate things? For me, I tell my team, don't be afraid of that, because it allows you to be a better business partner to
100%.
the areas that you're supporting instead of doing the administrative tasks.
I think that's a good way to look at it too, is that all of these tools come into play and really just help you with the busy work that's the soul draining. And if anything, I think that AI tools or, whatever other tools actually make the hiring process even more human because it frees you guys up to actually engage with the people versus spending exhausting all of your efforts on doing the screening and the scheduling pre-screen calls and, people don't show up and they don't answer. And now it's like, okay, we can streamline all of that and my energy gets to go to the candidate.
Yeah. And if you think about it, what is the person doing when they're screening a resume? They're looking for keywords. They're looking for, okay, did they have this job title? They're skimming those resumes. There's no way they're reading point by point by point. So they're really the human AI.
They really are.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is like when we talk about video screening, and I have to choose my words wisely, obviously, when I say this, but Personality Pool we do nothing to eliminate people. We give you a better snapshot and we give you some data points from the video to save you from all of the other draining screening processes. So it's still, you're going to see these candidates at some point. And I know a lot of candidates, not a lot, actually, I think this happens very little where a candidate, we hear from somebody that the candidate refused the video screen. And if they refuse it, then, you've got other things that you can do. But it's really, if there's some kind of problem in your screening, that's a team person, human thing, not an AI thing that, needs to be worked through. And so I think kind of like getting in front of that stigma is one of our biggest struggles. It's getting a lot easier, but yeah, I think it's exactly what you said. Like the human AI is really doing the same thing. It's just taking a lot longer
It is.
to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agree.
Okay, that's great. You guys hire a lot of good team players. You've got a lot of shining stars on the FACE teams. How do you, in an interview process or a screening process, whatever, or the whole holistic process, how do you spot your next star talent? Like, what are those qualities that stand out to you, and how accurate are you normally with that?
So I thought about this, and as soon as I saw that question, there was one person who came to mind, and it actually isn't someone here. It's someone I hired at US Foods when I worked there. And I tend to use that person as my basis. And I'm like, this was probably the best hire I have ever made in my entire career, the woman at US Foods. I was thinking back on it, and every time I do an interview and it clicks like she clicked, I'm like, that person's going to be good because she was so good. When you're interviewing somebody and they have that high energy, they've done the research on the company, you're just talking with them and it ends up being a conversation and not an interview, and you lose track of time, that's when you know you've got a good candidate. And this woman that I hired at US Foods, she never forgets to thank me every year for hiring her, even though I don't work there
Oh my
anymore.
gosh.
On the day that she was hired, she sends me an email and thanks me. And she reminds me that we were only supposed to have an hour interview, and it ended up being 3 hours, and I never bought her dinner. And I didn't even realize it was 3 hours. That's how smoothly it went. But I think when you end up and you're not feeling like you're in an interview, you feel like you're having a conversation, then you know that's a fit.
That just speaks to the power of the importance of soft skills in the hiring process.
Absolutely.
I think that's amazing. I haven't heard anybody say that. And so I think that makes perfect sense. It's just two humans trying to figure out if it fits.
Yep. Yeah. And if you feel comfortable with that person and you're not feeling like you're struggling to get answers or whatever, you're having that conversation, it's going so smoothly, you know that person's just going to fit in. They're going to fit into the job. I had that with a candidate that I just hired for my HR team. And interestingly enough, I had two positions that I was hiring for. And then as I'm talking to this individual and it becomes a conversation and we lost track of time and I knew that it was meshing, I'm like, I'm interviewing them for this position, but they're the better fit for the other position. And they were totally shocked when I offered them the higher level position because they didn't apply for it. But it was just like so much came out in that conversation. And again, I keep saying personality. The personality came shining through. The confidence was there. And I just knew, you know what? If I hire this person for that lower level position, they probably are going to be bored because they really have the skills for the higher level.
No, I think if anybody listening to this is maybe not on the hiring side, but on the candidate side, I think being yourself, trying to calm the nerves down because the hiring teams they want you to do good. The less interviews you have to do,
yes,
the happier. And so I think looking at it from that perspective, being able to be honest and just try to be as conversational as possible, because look at that opportunity that just produced for your hire.
And he would have never gotten that just by the resume. But as we had the conversation and he talked more about his experience and what he did, again, probably newer into the HR field. So thinking, I have this experience, but it's really not a lot and it's not relevant. And so I shouldn't go for that job. But when you talk to them and you see you expanded more on this, which wasn't on your resume, and you get that personality and you get that drive and the ambition, I'll hire for drive, ambition any day. Because if they've got the drive and the ambition, you can teach them.
Hiring for not only personality, but potential.
Yes, absolutely. Every manager should hire for potential and hire for, can this person go into the next role?
The best, when I think about my career, which I'm only 34, so I'll say only 34, that's enough to have a bit behind you.
Yeah.
Still lots to learn. But I think about I had many jobs. I was one of those people that I just loved money when I was young. So I was having a million side jobs. So I've had a good amount of bosses. But when I got that first real job out of college, which is the reason Personality Pool even exists today, was from that experience. I remember I was applying for everything. And this is back when, 4-year degree or nothing. And so I remember I was in my last year of school and I wanted to go ahead and start applying for jobs so that I'm getting things lined up or getting interview experience. So I would be honest and say no, I don't have a 4-year degree yet, but I would try to write something, somewhere like, hey, I'm in my last year. I'm just, da da da. Immediately within, I don't know, sometimes less than 24 hours, I would just get an automatic email. Sorry, you're not a fit. And I knew, I'm like, oh, it's screening out and it's not looking at the additional information that I'm trying to share that would be relevant if it could just get to a human. And when I went to church with the guy that hired me, and I had no sales experience. There was no reason on paper that I would have gotten that job, but it's exactly what you said. The soft skills were there. If I can do nothing else, I can talk. That's always a fallback for me. I can find something to do with that. But the potential of being willing to learn, and I was so hungry. And I think exactly what you're saying about the woman at US Foods that reaches out to you, or the person that you just hired for FACE. I think about him all the time and how that just shaped every single part of my career.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been in HR for over 40 years, and I've been very, very fortunate to do so many different roles and have exposure to so much that many people in HR would never. And I do have to say, I had a leader who said, you're going to do this. And I'm like, that's out of my comfort zone. I'm not. And she's like, no, you are. And she pushed me. And I got to do projects and different things where it's maybe not part of HR. I supported operations, I supported finance, I did these things because, there's always times in your job where maybe the company's going to go through a restructure, they're going to do stuff, but they see a potential in you and they're like, oh, you're going to go here, there, and everything. It was great. And I think COVID also challenged us because a lot of people were laying people off because they had to because of the situation. And I got to work on projects and I built up confidence in myself through this leader challenging me when they said during COVID, well, you're not going to do HR right now. You're going to go build this mobile app thing so we can charge out our drivers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, no problem. Sure. And I was glad that she pushed me and she saw something in me. So again, hire for potential, hire for, the people that say yes. I was one of those people who, if I got asked to do something after that, I always said yes. But, yep, I don't care. I'll try it. I can do it. And it helped me because I got put on a ton of projects. And I'm so grateful for the experience that I got. But I would have never gotten it if somebody had looked at a piece of paper and said, no, she doesn't have that experience. Someone believed in me and gave me the opportunity.
Yeah, it's so inspiring to hear, you talk about, because this is stuff I haven't heard you say, but to talk about your path and you just have such a heart for people. And I think human resources, is the butt of the joke a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's just this miserable, and I'm sure people are people, so it can be incredibly taxing and hard. But at the end of the day, I think reframing it and looking at the true impact that as a human resources professional, you really are making such a difference in people's lives. And, meeting them, maybe, gosh, they could have been having, the worst run of luck ever, and you give them a chance and they get a job. And I just think that the tasks, the mundane task of human resources is not fun. But being able to get to the point where you actually can spend more time thinking about the true impact is just,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it worth it, I'm sure.
Definitely. And you're right. HR has a terrible rap. People usually see you and say, oh, who's getting fired today? Who's doing this? And I hate that. So I challenge my team not to be that person, to be there to support them. I still mentor people from my old job. I mentor people here at FACE, and Thankfully, I have a boss who allows me to do that. He supports it. And again, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity that I have here at FACE because I work for a visionary and he lets us try anything new and he trusts us. And that's part of the faith in our culture. He has faith in us. He lets us explore. And so I get to let my team do that too, which is awesome.
Well, and all of the team, all of your team that I've interacted with, they're all the best. So you guys are definitely doing it right. Okay, we're gonna end on one last question
Okay.
because I know you have lives to go change. You have exciting things to do. How do you think that hiring is going to be different in 10 years from now?
So I do think, again, we talked about the resume. I do think the resume is going to go away. I think it's going to be more, you're going to get out there, you're going to do career fairs, you're going to be going to the schools and the colleges, you're going to be meeting. A lot of it is going to be face to face. I think the videos are awesome, but we find even today, and we do a lot of hiring, we find we have a lot more success with the people who actually show up in person, who will follow through, and we aren't ghosted as much by those who actually take the effort to come and meet with us face to face. I don't know why, but we are seeing that's it. So I do think the future of hiring is going to be very, very different. I think it is going to be more video. I think it is going to be more face to face. I do think the resume is going to go away.
I think that should be exciting for everybody and not scary. The video, of course, one component, but just getting back as much as technology is progressing, what I am finding is that it is also certain fundamental basic things are coming back with it, which is the more face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always said, get me the interview and I'll get the job. Because once they meet me, I'll get that job.
Same.
But if I can't get past that paper piece, which it's hard. It's really hard to express who you are on paper. It doesn't come out. Just like when you send an email to somebody and they take it the wrong way. But if I'm talking to you, you know exactly what I'm saying. And, your energy, your passion, everything can come through. I even say to the recruiter who got me here, thank goodness for Bucky and his vision and his ability, because I think if someone just saw my resume, they'd say, oh, she has a lot of experience, but maybe, nah, we're not gonna her. She's got this great experience and all of that, but she's, further in her career. We want somebody else. And Bucky was not like that. And I am so grateful for the opportunity that he's given me because it's been fun. My whole job has been fun. And again, I think my personality came out when I met with him.
Of course
And
it did.
not only that, but when I met with him, and I had been with my other company for a very long time and thought, I'm going to retire there. I don't want to leave. I loved it. But after I met him, and I also got to see his passion, his vision, and how much he cared, I was like, I have to work for that company. So I think it goes both ways. When you get
Yes.
to talk to the person, they get a feel for, is this really the right fit for me too? Because it's not just about, is it the fit for us? It has to be a fit for the candidates. So they get to see us, meet us, and understand our personality.
That makes all the difference. I mean, at the end of the day, whether it's human resources, whether it's influencers or the brands you buy, you're doing all of these things because of the energy behind it and the people that are running it and making it happen. And so I think taking that into the hiring process and realizing, it's not the restaurant. It's the people, it's not that, and that's how it is across the board. And so I just think it's exciting that people like you exist in this space to pioneer and move this forward because you really are. You really, really are. The whole team at Faces, but you leading the charge on the human resources side, it makes me excited and thankful that, people can learn from you and me, that I can learn from you.
Well, I learned from you too, but no, I mean, again, I think it starts with leadership. If you don't have leadership backing to be able to do those types of things, then HR can be very boring.
Yes.
And
Yes,
yes,
it can be.
and it can be, okay, it's all legal and everything, but no, we've got a great team here, and I'm fortunate to work here.
You're the best. You guys all are the best. And I hope, you know what? Not only do I hope this, but we're going to send this podcast out in the world. There's going to be clips out in there, out in the universe, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, Deb needs to come speak to our team. because we all need to be more like Deb and our hiring team. I really believe that. So,
Well, thank you, but I hope people will see it and they'll say, "I want to go work for Face. That's the
yes,
company I want to work
yes.
for."
Well, listen, if my business ever goes south, I'm coming to Face. So just keep, hopefully that never happens. But if it does, listen, I would be like, hey, you got a job for me. Because it is just, it's so awesome. And I don't even really think about what you guys do because what I think about is culture and people first. And then I'm like, okay, now what is it what would I actually do? As long as I'm around you guys, I feel like I could get through, whatever the task was. So there's something to be said for that. Well, thank you so much for participating in this, and I'm sure that it's going to go great, and that we're going to have to do a follow up because everybody's going to have more questions for you.
Awesome. I'd love to. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. And just know your business is not going to go south. It's amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening to Talent Show. Whether you're hiring or looking for a job or just here for a good time, we're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell anybody that this is your go-to hiring podcast. Also, don't forget that when it comes to hiring, personality isn't extra, it's everything. All right, see you next time.